When I was young, I didn't think much about health. We worked hard on the farm, waking up before the sun, carrying firewood and hauling water. It wasn't exercise in the way we think about it now, it was just life. But looking back, I can see now that those simple everyday movements kept me in shape without even thinking about it. One of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years is that health isn't something you can take for granted, and it's a lot easier to preserve than it is to fix when it's broken. In my 70s, I started to notice that my body wasn't bouncing back the way it used to. I had to slow down. The aches and pains were more persistent. That's when I realized that the secret to staying healthy as you age isn't just about taking medicine or seeing doctors. It's about moving your body every day, no matter how small the movement. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But let me tell you, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you don't need to move as much once you're older. I see folks in their 60s who've stopped doing things they love, like walking or gardening, because they feel like they're too old or it's too tiring. I get it. There's fatigue, and sometimes it feels like it's easier to sit down and rest. But here's the thing. If you don't move, you lose the ability to move, and that's a real problem. Now, I'm not saying you need to run marathons or hit the gym every day, but a simple walk in the morning, or even just stretching out your arms and legs while you watch TV, can make a huge difference. Trust me on that. When I get out for a walk, even if it's just down the street and back, I feel a little bit more like my old self. My joints feel looser, my mind feels clearer, and I sleep better at night. I've also learned the importance of what you put into your body. It's easy to grab something quick, but I've found that eating wholesome, natural food keeps me feeling better. Vegetables, whole grains, and plenty of water. Those are my go-tos. You're never too old to start eating better. I didn't change my eating habits overnight, but slowly, over the years, I made small adjustments that have made a big difference in how I feel day to day. So, I encourage you, if you're in your 60s or beyond, don't give up on your body. It's still got a lot of good years left in it. Keep moving, keep stretching, and keep fueling it with the right foods. Your body will thank you for it. If this advice resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories and tips from someone who's seen a thing or two about living a long, healthy life. As I reflect on my 94 years, one thing stands out above everything else. It's not the cars I've driven, the homes I've lived in, or even the career I've had. No, what matters most to me is the relationships I've built along the way. In the end, it's the people you love and who love you that make life worth living. When I was younger, I didn't always appreciate how important this was. I was so focused on work, on building a life, providing for my family, making sure I had a secure future. But as the years passed, I started to see something. When I came home at the end of a long day, it wasn't the paycheck or the accomplishments that made me feel truly fulfilled. It was the warmth of my wife's smile, the sound of my children's laughter, and the comfort of knowing I was surrounded by people who cared about me. I'll never forget the evening spent with my wife, sitting by the fireplace, sipping tea, and simply talking. We didn't always have grand conversations. Sometimes, we would just sit quietly together, enjoying the simple presence of one another. Those moments may have seemed small at the time, but looking back, they are the ones I hold closest to my heart. And then there's family. I raised 3 children, and every year I watch them grow, each one blossoming into their own person. The pride I feel for them is beyond measure, but even more than the pride, it's the joy of knowing they're doing well, that they have their own families, and that we still share a bond. There's nothing more comforting than seeing your children, and then your grandchildren, thrive. I've also learned the value of forgiveness in relationships. There were times early in life when I held on to grudges, things that seemed so important at the time. But as the years passed, I realized how much energy I was wasting on bitterness. It wasn't worth it. If you can forgive, you can move on, and you can keep your relationships strong. Friendships have also been a big part of my life. I've seen friends come and go, but the ones who stuck around, they're the ones who really made a difference. A good friend is someone who will stand by you in your hardest times, share in your joy during the good times, and always make you laugh when you need it the most. So, if there's one piece of advice I can give you, it's this. Cherish the people around you. Call your children, visit your parents if they're still here, spend time with your friends, and never stop telling your loved ones how much they mean to you. The things we accumulate in life fade away, but the love we give and receive stays with us forever. When I was younger, I thought I'd stop learning the day I graduated school. After all, the hard work was done, right? But as the years went on, I came to realize that learning is a lifelong journey, and it's a journey that has kept me alive in more ways than one. You see, the mind, like the body, needs to stay active. If you don't use it, it starts to fade. That was a hard truth for me to accept, especially when I turned 80. I started noticing my memory wasn't what it used to be, and there were times I couldn't remember where I put my keys or when I had last seen a friend. But instead of worrying, I decided to keep pushing myself to learn new things. At first, it was small stuff. I started reading books again, not just the newspapers I used to skim through. I'd pick up novels, history books, anything that caught my interest. And with the advent of technology, I found myself trying things I never thought I would. My grandson gave me a tablet one day and showed me how to search for things, play games, and even read newspapers online. I was skeptical at first, thinking, I'm too old for this, but before long, I was hooked. I could look up anything I wanted, learn new topics, and even watch old movies from my youth. My world got a lot bigger. I also found that keeping my mind sharp wasn't just about reading or technology. It was about staying curious, asking questions, and never being afraid to admit that I didn't know something. I've found that every day holds a new lesson if you're paying attention. Whether it's learning a new recipe from my daughter, understanding a different point of view from a friend, or simply trying to remember the name of a place I once visited. It all keeps the brain active. And then there's the joy of sharing what I've learned. I love passing on stories from my past, telling my grandchildren about their great-grandparents, or recounting the days when the world seemed a lot simpler. Teaching others not only keeps your memory alive, but it also gives you a sense of purpose. I've found that when I share something I know with others, it feels like the knowledge lives on. So, my advice to you, whether you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, is to keep learning. It's never too late to start something new, whether that's reading, picking up a hobby, or just having a conversation that challenges your thinking. Your mind is one of your greatest assets. Protect it, nurture it, and never let it rest. If you enjoyed this story and found it helpful, please hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to get more insights from someone who has been around long enough to know that the mind is just as important as the body when it comes to living a full life. When I was a young man, I remember feeling like I could control everything, my future, my career, the way the world around me worked. But as the years passed, I came to realize that life has a funny way of teaching you that you can't control everything, no matter how hard you try. And let me tell you, that lesson isn't always an easy one to learn. I've lived through wars, economic downturns, and a rapidly changing world. When I was young, I never could have imagined the way the world would transform. Things like computers, cell phones, and the internet were beyond our wildest dreams. But as I've grown older, I've learned to adapt to these changes rather than fight them. The trick isn't to try and keep things the way they were, but to find peace in accepting change and embracing it. For example, when I first heard about the rise of smartphones, I didn't understand them at all. Who needs these fancy gadgets, I thought. But over time, I saw how they could help me stay connected with my children and grandchildren, even when they lived far away. So, I swallowed my pride, asked for help, and learned how to use one. And you know what? I was amazed at how useful it became, being able to send a text, take pictures, or even look up something when I needed to know. It was a challenge at first, but it was a reminder that change isn't always bad. In fact, I think change can be a blessing. The key is to embrace it with open arms. You see, when you resist change, it only makes life harder. I spent many years holding on to old habits, old ways of thinking, and even old grudges. It wasn't until I let go of those things that I truly found peace. I had to accept that I couldn't change the past. I couldn't control how others lived their lives. And I couldn't always protect the ones I loved from the inevitable ups and downs of life. But what I could do was change how I responded to it all. Sometimes, the hardest thing is letting go of the things we can't control. But trust me, when you stop fighting change, you start to feel lighter, more open to the possibilities that life still has to offer. So, as you get older, don't hold on too tightly to the past. Let go of what you can't change. Embrace the changes around you and adapt. The world may keep turning, but if you let it, it can turn into something beautiful. As I've grown older, one thing has become crystal clear. Life's true joy isn't found in big events or grand accomplishments. It's found in the little things that often slip by unnoticed. When I was younger, I was always chasing the next big thing. A new job, a promotion, a vacation. I thought those were the moments that would bring me happiness. But as I look back now, I realize that the best moments weren't those grand milestones. They were the quiet, everyday moments that I almost took for granted. I remember sitting on the porch with my wife on a warm summer evening. We didn't need to talk about anything in particular. We just watched the sunset, feeling the evening breeze. Those moments, simple as they were, are what I treasure most. And even today, I find joy in watching the birds flutter around my garden or listening to the sound of rain on the roof. Sometimes, it's as simple as a cup of coffee in the morning or the quiet companionship of a friend. I've found that when you stop rushing through life, you can start to really savor the moments that make up each day. Life becomes much richer when you appreciate the small things, whether it's a smile from a stranger, the sound of laughter, or the feeling of sunlight on your face. I've learned to be grateful for the little joys because they add up to a life well lived. You don't have to wait for big moments to be happy. Take time to notice the small things around you, and you'll find that they are what fill your heart with warmth. If this message resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to hear more stories from someone who's learned that life's greatest pleasures are often the simplest ones. As I've reached my 94th year, I've come to realize that it's not the money I've earned, the possessions I've gathered, or even the work I've done that matters most. What truly matters, what truly lasts, is the legacy of love that we leave behind. And that's something we can all build, no matter where we are in life. When my first grandchild was born, it hit me. This is what life is about. It wasn't the achievements or the things I could show for my years, but the love I could pass down. My grandchildren may not remember every detail of what I did for them, but they'll remember how I made them feel. They'll remember the way I hugged them, the stories I shared, and the way I laughed with them. I've always believed that love is the greatest legacy we can leave. It's not something you leave behind in a will or in a bank account. It's something you give every day, in the way you treat others, in the kindness you offer, and in the lessons you pass on. Love can be passed down through generations, shaping the way people live long after you're gone. As I get older, I think about the values I've tried to live by: kindness, patience, generosity, and humility. These are the things I want my children and grandchildren to carry forward. The material things won't matter in the end. It's the love, the warmth, and the goodness you've shared that will remain in people's hearts. So, I urge you, don't wait for some grand moment to start building your legacy. It begins right now, with every interaction, every hug, and every kind word. That's what truly lasts. As I look back on my 94 years, one of the greatest truths I've learned is that every stage of life holds its own beauty. When I was younger, I couldn't wait to grow up, become independent, have a family, make my mark on the world. But now, looking back, I realize that each phase of life has its own rhythm, its own special moments, and its own lessons to offer. I remember when I was in my 30s and 40s, I was always so focused on what came next. I was building my career, raising children, thinking about the future. But in my 60s, I started to slow down a bit, and I realized how much I'd missed in my rush to get ahead. Those years when the kids were young, they were full of moments that I wish I had savored more. The laughter at the dinner table, the way my son would hold my hand when he was scared, the way my daughter would climb into my lap for comfort. Those are the moments I should have paused to enjoy, not worried so much about the next step. Now that I'm in my 90s, I've come to appreciate this stage in ways I never expected. Yes, there are challenges. My body isn't what it once was, and I can't move as quickly as I used to. But there's a peacefulness in this stage of life. I've had time to reflect, time to spend with loved ones, and time to enjoy simple pleasures that I didn't always notice before. I've learned that it's okay not to be in a rush. Life has a way of slowing down when you allow it, and in that slowing down, there's an unexpected joy. So, no matter what stage you're in, embrace it. Don't be too eager to move on to the next phase or look back with regret. Each stage has something special to offer. Learn to recognize that beauty, no matter how old you are. One of the hardest lessons I've learned over my 94 years is the importance of asking for help. When I was younger, I prided myself on being independent. I wanted to do everything myself. fix things around the house, take care of the yard, even handle my own troubles. I thought that asking for help meant I was weak, that I should be able to manage everything on my own. But as the years went by, I started to see how that mindset was more of a burden than a strength. When I reached my 80s, my body didn't work the way it used to. There were days when I couldn't manage the heavy lifting or the physical tasks I once took for granted. I had to come to terms with the fact that I couldn't do everything on my own anymore. And that's when I realized how important it is to lean on others. At first, it felt like I was giving up control, but over time, I learned that asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of wisdom. I reached out to my children when I needed help around the house, and I let my friends know when I was struggling with something. To my surprise, people were more than willing to help. It was humbling, but it also showed me just how much love and support I had in my life. There's no shame in asking for help, whether it's for something physical, emotional, or just needing someone to talk to. We all need others, and sometimes letting people in and allowing them to lend a hand brings us closer together. Life is about community, not isolation. Asking for help doesn't make you less capable. It makes you more connected to those around you. So, don't be afraid to ask for help, whether you're 60, 70, or even 90. It's a reminder that we all need each other, and that's what makes life richer. As I reflect on my life, the lessons I've shared with you today are the ones that stand out most to me. Life is a journey, and the longer you live, the more you realize that it's not about the things you accomplish, the money you make, or the recognition you get. No, what truly matters are the relationships you build, the love you share, and the way you choose to embrace each day, no matter what it brings. As I look back, I can see how much I've changed over the years, how I've learned to appreciate the simple things, how I've let go of the things I can't control, and how I've come to understand that each stage of life offers its own unique gifts. The struggles, the joys, the ups and downs, they've all shaped me into who I am today, and I'm grateful for each one of them. I've learned that age doesn't diminish the value of life. In fact, it deepens it. Every day is an opportunity to learn, to love, and to grow. The key is to never stop embracing life, to keep moving forward with an open heart, and to always remember that the smallest moments often hold the most meaning. As you journey through your own life, remember that it's not about avoiding the hard times or trying to keep everything the same. It's about finding peace in the midst of change, cherishing the people around you, and leaving a legacy that lives on in the hearts of those who knew you. The wisdom of life comes from living it fully and with love. As I come to the end of sharing these lessons with you, I want to take a moment to thank you for joining me on this journey. It's been a true privilege to speak to you about what I've learned over my 94 years. Life has taught me so much, and now I'm honored to pass that wisdom along to you. But this isn't goodbye. Far from it. I want you to know that no matter where you are in life, whether you're just entering your 60s or you've already crossed over into your 70s, 80s, or beyond, there is always something more to learn. There is always another chapter in your story, and that chapter is still being written. You see, age is just a number. It doesn't mean your best years are behind you. Far from it. The most beautiful chapters of your life can still be ahead. It's all about attitude. It's all about the way you look at the world and the willingness you have to keep learning, growing, and embracing whatever comes your way. I've learned that the key to a fulfilling life isn't about avoiding challenges or hoping for perfection. It's about facing those challenges with grace and courage, and always keeping your heart open to the joys that each new day brings. So, as you continue your journey, don't let age hold you back. Don't let the idea of getting older stop you from pursuing new passions, new experiences, or new relationships. The world still has so much to offer you, and there's always room for more joy, more laughter, and more love. You're never too old to begin something new. I encourage you to subscribe to our channel, Elderly Hacks. Here, we're dedicated to offering practical advice, life tips, and stories that celebrate the wisdom and experiences of those of us who have lived through many seasons of life. Whether it's simple health tips, fun hobbies to try, or lessons on how to find peace in your golden years, there's always something here for you. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in it together. Keep learning, keep living, and most importantly, keep growing. Come back to Elderly Hacks whenever you need a little inspiration, advice, or just a reminder that you're capable of more than you think. Until next time, take care of yourself, cherish your loved ones, and know that the best is still to come. I look forward to seeing you again soon.